Oh, the Cleveland Browns. How appropriate in this holiday season that they are the gift that keeps on giving. And I can't begin to tell you how much gratitude and appreciation I have for the one true skid marks of the National Football League, for all of the opportunities to love to hate them that they have provided me over the past several years. I have enjoyed blasting this organization, putting them on blast, and look forward to doing so in the future because it's fun, it's enjoyable, and borderline therapeutic. Don't judge me. Yes, judge me, because I probably deserve your judgment, just like the Cleveland Browns deserve your judgment. So I felt it was appropriate to come on YouTube once again and talk about this organization, and in this particular case, provide some motivation as this team is staring down the barrel of an 0-16 season, facing off against the Pittsburgh Steelers this Sunday. How, baby! History is about to be made, and it is glorious. Now, you can make history by being great. You can make history by being all-time greats. You can win championships. You can go to the Hall of Fame and all of these things. But sometimes the things that are just as memorable are the terrible, the suck, the horrible. Those teams, those players, those organizations can stick with us just as long, if not longer, and in a deeper, more connected way. Anybody can be good, but it is true greatness to be terrible, and beyond that, a whole different level of epic greatness to truly, undoubtedly, unquestionably be the worst of the worst, the creme de la crap, the hashtag skid marks of the National Football League, and that's what the Cleveland Browns have once again this season proven themselves to be. And you look at Cleveland, you have a chance, having already locked up the number one overall pick in the draft for the second straight season. That's only happened 5 times since the common draft between the NFL and AFL was created in the mid-60s. 5th time. And the last team, ironically enough, appropriately enough to do that, were the Cleveland Browns in 1999-2000. You remember when they came back into the league as an expansion team, they tried to sell them as these are the old Cleveland Browns, even though everybody with a brain knows that the old Cleveland Browns left to go to Baltimore because the city wouldn't give Art Modell a stadium. Art Modell didn't want to be there anymore. They changed their name, became the Baltimore Ravens, and won 2 Super Bowls. So the last time it happened was Cleveland. How appropriate that, not as an expansion team now, just as the skid marks of the NFL, they have made this history happen. Only the 5th time in the common draft era, and 2 of those times belong to the Cleveland Browns. You have a chance at true history to go 0-16 in a full season. Only the second team in modern NFL history to do that, along with the 2008 Detroit Lions. 0-16. Like, think about how many teams win 9-10 football games every year, and even their own fans a couple of years later don't even really remember half of what happened. But everybody remembers how terrible the 2008 Detroit Lions were. You have a chance to cement your place in history that nobody can ever take away from you. And then, expounding upon that even more, a chance to go 1-31 for a full 2-season stretch. No team in NFL history has done that over a 2-season stretch of a 16-game season. 1-31! A chance to go 4-44 over a 3-season stretch. Again, I don't know that anybody in NFL history, in modern NFL history with the 16-game season, has done that. That's what awaits you, Cleveland. You have the chance to make real, true, meaningful history happen. And sure, you can talk about, well, we've already cinched up the number 1 pick. We got to play the Steelers. They're disrespecting us so bad that they're thinking about playing all their scrubs and still thinking they can beat us like they did last year in overtime. And we want to get them. We don't want to be on the schneid anymore. We don't want to go over for a entire season. Crap on that. How many teams go 1-15 and you barely remember them? You barely talk about them. Other than maybe in reference to the fact that they ended up with the number 1 overall pick in that draft. And many times they busted out on said number 1 pick. But everybody that's a football fan remembers the 2008 Detroit Lions. Everybody knows the 2008 Detroit Lions went 0-16. That is what's staring down the barrel of the shotgun for you, skid marks, the Cleveland Browns, for this 2017 season. You will be able to have your own place etched in history. And what a crock of shit, frankly, it is that the Detroit Lions were able to achieve that honor, that legacy, that legend of being the first 0-16 team for a season in NFL history when you are the organization that deserves it. Here is a chance to take your rightful place back. Here is a chance for you to establish yourselves. Screw Detroit being the Lions and doing Lions things. You are the one true forever skid marks of the National Football League. But beyond that, thinking about, well, a win's a win. That win isn't going to do crap for you. You'll still be a terrible 1-15 football team, just like you were last year. And clearly going 1-15 didn't do anything for you because ding dong dumb dicks, guess what? After 15 games this year, you're 0-15. This is the true bottoming out that is necessary, that has to happen. And I know what you're saying. Well, isn't this already kind of the bottom? No. After losing Sunday to the Steelers, that would be the bottom. 0-16 is embarrassing. 0-16 leaves you with no choice but to have to get better. Even if you bumble, stumble, fuck into it. And if anything, you'll get to a point in time where people will have a morbid curiosity, players, coaches, and they eventually will want to ride in on their noble steeds and attempt to be the heroes that turn the thing around. Because if you can turn this situation around in Cleveland with the Browns organization for the criminal that is the owner, Jimmy Haslam, you are going to be a legend and an icon for eternity in the annals of football history. Annals, my ass, the annals of football history when it comes to the skid marks. But looking at some history of the NFL over the years and the really, truly, legendarily terrible teams, you look at the World War II Chicago Cardinals. They lost 29 of 30 games between 1943 and 45. Over 3 seasons, they went 1-29. But by 1947, after the war ended, they got players back. They won the NFL championship, and then they made it back to the NFL championship game, but lost there in 48. 2 straight NFL title game appearances with the victory in 47. Another legendary team. And think about this, Cleveland Browns. Over 40 years later, the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers of 76 and 77, and specifically 76, still live on in history. They do specials about them. They talk about them. They compare bad teams to them. The Buccaneers of 76 are the measuring stick for every other horrible, terrible, crappy, winless team in the National Football League year in and year out. They are the bedrock. They are the pillars, the gold standard of futility. And they went 0-14 their first season in 76. Then came back in 77, lost the first 12 games of the season. That's 26 losses in a row before they won their last 2. 0-26. To start off their organization's history. But what did you know, son of a bitch, McKay got them to the NFL championship game in that 79 season. So they went from losing 26 straight games to 2 seasons later, they were 1 game away from the Super Bowl. But even with that being said, a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't remember that, or don't have any knowledge of that. But everybody that's a football fan of some kind, when they think of the worst football team of all time, they think about the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers of 76 and 77, specifically 76. Well, they only lost 14 in a row in this season. That's amateur hour. That's Bush League crap. That's swashbuckling Buccaneer stuff, if you ask me. You have a chance to go 0-16 in the season. 1-31 over a 2-season stretch. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers cannot fist themselves because they can't be the measuring stick anymore. You would be. And think about the redemption story as players, as an organization, as coaches that you'd be able to tell, to be like, this is where it was, and this is where we were, and this is where it got. And look at where we are now. It's going to get better. It has to get better. And speaking from a Chicago fan's perspective, specifically the Chicago Cubs, I assure you of this, no matter how bad you think it is for the Cleveland Browns, no matter how much you agree that they are the skid marks of the National Football League, if my Chicago Cubs, after a 108-year drought, Tinkers to Evers to Chance, pound it. That team of 1908. If the Chicago Cubs, after 108 years, can finally hoist a World Series trophy once again, then anything is possible for the Cleveland Browns. You have absolutely zero incentive other than foolish pride and naiveness into wanting to win that game on Sunday. No. Anybody can go 1-15. It takes the true creme de la creme, the true skid marks of the National Football League to go against a team that's looking ahead to the playoffs, completely dismissing you, primarily playing their second stringers, to lose to them. Now that is a gold standard of suck that may never be surpassed again. Do you want to just be another 1-15 team, Cleveland? Or do you want to go down in history like the 2008 Lions and the 76 Buccaneers? If you're going to go for it, go nuts, let's get nuts and go all the freaking way, as they say. Go the distance. Go the distance. Because I promise you, this is going to be the worst it will ever be. And it will get better from here. I promise you and I assure you, it will get better from here, because how the hell could it not? Unless you choose to go 0-16 again in 2018. Oh, baby! But if the Cubs can do it, the Browns can do it. But this is not the time to play the best game of the season. This is not the time to go out there and show some goddamn foolish pride or some desire to not join the 2008 Lions and the 0-16 club. No, this is your chance to kick down the damn door, break through the glass floor or whatever the frick, kick them out of that clubhouse and say, this is our bitch and we run it and nobody's ever sucked like us. So that way someday, when you're contending for a championship, you can look back on those days and look back on them fondly and say, look at the ultimate redemption story. The worst there ever was to the best there is today. And you never know in the NFL. Anything can happen. And it can happen very, very quickly. You can do it, Browns. One more loss for history. 1-15 is Bush League. 1-15 is amateur hour. 0-16. Now that's where history is made. That's where the money's at. That shows real pride as a professional. Not really, but you know what? Screw it. It would be the ultimate bottoming out, the necessary bottoming out that needs to happen, that has to happen, that we believe ultimately will happen. Just imagine the disappointment of 15 games worth of foreplay of sucking just to sit there and blow it all with the victory. Nobody's going to come to that. Nobody's going to joygasm to that. But we sure as hell will when you do what you need to do, which is go out there and lose on Sunday. You can do it, skid marks. Just one more loss. One more loss. One more loss.